What you just watched, Brock Lesnar walking into a match that should have been hand-delivered to 3 men, and WWE daring to use Jon Moxley like some interchangeable pawn named Dean Ambrose, is an insult. It's a slap. It's creative bankruptcy parading as big moment. And Roman Reigns, he wears a jacket that cost more than a paycheck for half the roster, and somehow that's supposed to mask the fact the whole thing was stitched together with lies, lazy storytelling, and corporate cowardice. Tell me who profited from that mess, who lost, and who's going to keep paying when WWE sells out the name, the legacy, and our trust. If you thought this match was a fair fight, you were conned. If you felt cheated, tell me in the comments. Did WWE just ruin Brock Lesnar for you? Quick poll: 1 yes, ruined; 2 no, still a beast; 3 unsure. Now buckle up. You're getting the full breakdown, the build, the betrayal, the backstage politics, the wrestling nerd rage, and how one jacket became the symbol of everything wrong with modern wrestling booking. By the end of this, you'll either be angrier than when you started, or you'll finally understand the cold, corporate calculus that made this spectacle inevitable. Part 1: The setup, Brock Lesnar, OBA Femi, and the promised battle. Let's start with what should have happened. Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate, is a phenomenon. He's not just a regular main event guy, he's a walking, suplexing thunderbolt who makes headlines with each appearance. He's a marquee name, a fear factor, the one opponent every company dreads. When Lesnar's name is associated with a match, 2 things happen: expectations skyrocket, and the stakes automatically become nuclear. So when word leaked, when fans and insiders started whispering about a dream match, the proper dream match, Brock Lesnar vs OBA Femi, the internet lit up like a tinderbox. OBA Femi, a rising, ruthless, charismatic powerhouse with the skill set and the momentum to go toe-to-toe with Lesnar. A modern star with an old-school spirit, tough, hungry, and intolerant of nonsense. You could picture the promos, the physicality, the crowd split down the middle, the suplexes, the reversals, the near falls, the kind of match you tell your kids about. But let's be honest, that's what we imagined. It's what we deserved. And in wrestling, what you deserve and what you get are often 2 different realities. Trivial question for the comments: if Lesnar fought OBA Femi, would you expect a classic barn burner or a brutal squash? Vote: 1 classic barn burner, 2 brutal squash, 3 other. Explain. Part 2: The spoiler, how WWE misused a legend. Now let's talk spoilers, and not the juicy kind that surprise you in a good way. I'm talking about the systemic kind, the spoiler that steals a story's soul. WWE, in its infinite corporate wisdom, pulled a move that tore apart the concept of identity in pro wrestling. They used Jon Moxley, yes, the Jon Moxley, but they didn't use him as Jon Moxley. They used him as Dean Ambrose. Stop for a second and let that sink in. There are layers to this that you can't ignore. Jon Moxley is a name that represents independence, a post-WWE renaissance, a guy who left the system and thrived outside WWE's safety net. Dean Ambrose is a TV character, a WWE intellectual property. Moxley reclaimed himself, built a persona outside the F-dominated world where he was Dean Ambrose. He turned away from being WWE's property. He went out and proved he didn't need that label. And yet, somehow, WWE thought it was a good idea to essentially reclaim that identity, to repurpose a character Moxley walked away from. They used him like a prop, like a plot device, like a cheap twist in a bad crime thriller. Imagine this: you buy into Moxley's gritty authenticity, you cheer the underdog who broke free, and then WWE slaps you in the face and says, nope, we own that. That's not a creative decision, that's cultural vandalism. It erases the moral of Moxley's narrative that you can walk away, make it on your own, and define yourself. Instead, WWE rebrands the man as the character he once was, as if history is something you can just overwrite. Trivial question: do you think WWE had the right to use the Dean Ambrose character like this? 1 yes, it's their property. 2 no, it's wrong to erase Moxley's journey. 3 complicated. Explain. Part 3: The match, or what we were sold as a match. Attendees and viewers tuned in expecting intensity. They wanted Lesnar vs OBA Femi, raw power versus emerging dominance. But what they got: a structural train wreck disguised as a main event. The match was presented with all the trappings of grandeur: bright lights, pyrotechnics, heated commentary, and the sort of heavy-handed camera work that screams, "This is important, look at it." Yet the substance was hollow. The choreography felt scripted in a way that didn't serve the characters. Lesnar's offense, the Brock we know, showed up in flashes, but the big moments were interrupted by awkward beats that didn't match either man's persona. OBA Femi, a natural babyface or a cunning heel depending on booking, was forced into spots where his actions didn't make narrative sense. And then there was the Deus Ex Machina nobody asked for, the sudden return of a Dean Ambrose figure, the WWE-sanctioned phantasm. Cue the chorus of boos and incredulous laughter because nothing in that scene felt earned. Think about the psychology. Psychology is everything in wrestling. When you just throw a name in front of people and expect them to feel, you're disrespecting the audience. Wrestling isn't just physical, it's mythology. It's a story told through sweat and sound. You can't suddenly retcon a hero's independence and expect fans to cheer because you slapped an old name on a new stage. Trivial question: which moment in the match felt most forced to you? 1. The Ambrose appearance. 2. Lesnar's finishes being telegraphed. 3. The crowd's reaction botched /flat. 4. Other explain. Part 4. The backstage politics. Who pushed for what now? Let's pull back the curtain. Wrestling isn't made in a vacuum. It's the product of locker room politics, Vince-era memories, corporate metrics, ego management, and a never-ending hunger for monetization. When you see a controversial creative decision like using the Dean Ambrose name, you have to ask, who wanted this, and why? There's always the easy answer: WWE legal and marketing. They see IP, opportunity, and the chance to monetize nostalgia. Ambrose is a valuable brand. Dean Ambrose shirts sell. Dean Ambrose merchandise is eat your competition tier. But it's not just about the merch. It's about control. WWE likes to control narratives. They like to remind the world subtly and aggressively, we create and own these guys. That kind of message is aimed at other talent, at agents, at rival companies. If you leave, your name doesn't fully leave. Then there's the corporate calculation about ratings. Ratings are mercury in their hands, they chase whatever will move numbers. Using Ambrose could be framed as a ratings play, a shock factor to pull eyes back to TV. But you cannot keep using manufactured shocks as a replacement for meaningful storytelling. People wise to the business smell it. They vote with their attention. They click away. They unsubscribe. Don't forget the locker room effect. Imagine being OBA grinding, getting the hype, only to have your moment wrested away by a retread identity that creates resentment. It undermines morale. It frays trust. And long-term, that is more costly than any jacket or guest appearance. Trivial question: who do you blame most for this decision? 1. WWE creative. 2. WWE management /legal. 3. Vince /board level XX. 4. Other explain. Part 5. Roman Reigns jacket, symbolism or smoke and mirrors. This is the part that gets people laughing and furious at the same time. Roman Reigns walks out wearing a jacket that costs more than most indie promotions' entire payroll. It's flashy, it's cinematic, it's an image, and that's exactly the problem. I don't begrudge anyone their fashion, but when your fashion becomes a narrative device that distracts from bad storytelling, when a jacket is used to sell legitimacy that's otherwise non-existent, it's manipulative. It's a PR stunt disguised as character building. Think about symbolism in wrestling. Costumes can tell you a lot. Hulk Hogan's yellow and red screamed invulnerability, The Undertaker's black and purple whispered death, Randy Savage tights screamed mania. But when you use an expensive jacket as a band-aid for weak booking, it becomes a joke. The message it sends backstage is worse: look at the suit, ignore the substance. Look at the shiny thing, don't ask questions. And let's not ignore the optics. Reigns, the business machine of WWE, becomes the face of a system that prioritizes image over integrity. That jacket is a visual metaphor: expensive, glossy, and covering a hollow center. It becomes a symbol of everything that went wrong that night: the cheap nostalgia bait, the misuse of a beloved name, the sidelining of fresh talent. Trivial question: is Roman's jacket an effective symbol of authority or a distraction from bad booking? 1. Symbol of authority. 2. Distraction. 3. Both. 4. Neither explain. Part 6. The fan response: why we're mad, and why IT matters. Here's the brutal truth: fans aren't angry because they are entitled. Fans are angry because the product they love keeps undermining itself. This anger comes from passion. It comes from investment. We spend time, weekends, money, and heart on wrestling. We study it. We debate it. We memorize the good and the bad. When the company treats those investments like a fickle experiment, the fans react. We want consequences. We want meaning. When WWE uses a name like Dean Ambrose in a way that erases Jon Moxley's agency, when Brock Lesnar's marquee status is treated like a revolving door spectacle, the fans can smell the injustice. This isn't just about nostalgia, it's about the future. If WWE teaches fans that continuity doesn't matter, that character arcs can be erased and replaced, what happens to long-term storytelling? You lose stakes. You lose heat. You lose loyalty. The social media fallout is immediate: memes, hot takes, unsubscribes, and heated replies. But beneath the surface-level reactions are deeper consequences. Talent trust erodes, creative talent looks elsewhere, and the cultural value of the product decreases. WWE can sell short-term spikes, but they will hemorrhage credibility. Trivial question: after this incident, will you keep watching WWE Weekly? 1. Yes, I love it despite errors. 2. No, I'll boycott. 3. I'll watch selectively big events only. 4. Other explain. Part 7. What WWE could have done differently. Let's be constructive for a moment, because rage without direction is wasted energy. There were multiple ways this storyline could have been handled honestly, with respect for both the performers and the audience. 1. Honor Jon Moxley's evolution. If you're bringing Jon back in any capacity, let him be Jon. Let him explain his story on the microphone. Let him face Reigns Allsner as his own man, not as a recycled character. Fans respect authenticity. Reward them with it. 2. Build Oba Femi properly. If you wanted to elevate Oba Femi with a match against Allsner, let him shine. Build credible near falls. Let his psychology be clear. That's how you create a star who can carry the company for years. 3. Use Ambrose's name only if it serves a real narrative. If Dean Ambrose returns, make sure the stakes are seismic and the move is earned. Don't just drop a name for shock value. That's manipulative. 4. Stop hiding behind spectacle. A jacket doesn't tell a story. An entrance doesn't replace plot. Invest in writers who understand long-form storytelling. Invest in talent development, and stop applying headline-chasing band-aids. Part 8. The long game. What this means for wrestling's future. This incident is about more than a single match. It's a symptom of a larger disease, short-term thinking. Wrestling flourishes when promotions think in years, not quarters. Classic angles built over months, turns, betrayals, slow burns are what create gene-rational moments. When companies prioritize immediate attention and IP control over narrative coherence, they sacrifice legacy. The other consequence: talent mobility shrinks. If leaving WWE means your name can be taken and used against your brand, who will risk leaving? That discourages creativity, encourages cozy deals, and compresses competition, which is never good for the art form. We need rivals who can build equally compelling stories and preserve wrestlers' identities if they walk away. If WWE continues down this path, it risks peaceful but steady decline, glossy, profitable, and ultimately forgettable. Wrestling deserves better. Our heroes deserve better. Trivial question: do you think this incident will push more talent to stay independent /AEW /other companies? 1. Yes, talent will avoid WWE IP traps. 2. No, WWE still has money and reach. 3. Depends on future rulings, legal changes. Explain. Part 9. Final verdict: who won, who lost, and who was disrespected? Let's be clear on the scorecard. Winners. Short-term corporate metrics. Shock value drove trending topics. Someone in marketing punched the clocks. Merchandise shops selling retro Ambrose gear for a brief bump. Losers. The audience. We were sold a narrative that denied character arcs, and that's unforgivable. Oba Femi. Your momentum was hijacked. That's career damage that can take years to repair, if at all. Jon Moxley. He left to be his own man, yet his exit narrative was cheapened by a company that wanted to drain value from his past. Wrestling's long-form storytelling. We lost a little bit of faith that storylines will be respected again. You might argue Allsner won because he's always a draw. I'd say Allsner remains a star, but his star was used as bait. When a marquee talent is leveraged to create confusion rather than clarity, everyone loses. Trivial question: in one sentence, sum up your reaction to WWE's decision. I'll read the best lines on the next video. Closing: a call to action for fans who care. If you actually care about the future of wrestling, not the quick spikes, not the Instagram moments, but the art itself, then your voice matters. Comment below. Explain the moment that made you angriest. Share this video with a friend who thinks WWE can do no wrong. Let's make sure the people in charge hear the fans who know what they are talking about. I'll keep digging, bringing receipts, and calling out the behavior that disrespects performers and viewers alike. Tell me the angle you would have written for this match. How do you book it to protect Oba Femi, respect Moxley, and still give Brock Lesnar a monstrous moment? Best ideas get featured. One last trivial question before you go: which of these 3 changes would fix WWE the fastest? 1. Better creative and long-term booking. 2. Stronger legal protections for talent who leave. 3. More protection for new talents. Pushes for all of the above. Explain. Outro note: no formal intro, just the last burn. Wrestling is a promise. Every bell that rings is a contract with the fans. Tell us a story and we'll give you our rage, our cheers, and our loyalty. When a company breaks that contract, when it uses names and costumes and nostalgia as a currency instead of craft, they don't just lose viewers, they lose reverence. So shout in the comments. Be loud. Be specific. Tell WWE what they did wrong and then tell them what they need to fix. Because if we don't demand better, all we'll get is more jackets, more recycled names, and fewer legendary matches to remember. I'll see your thoughts below, don't hold back.